Brooklyn Independent Television.
Coming up on Brooklyn Review. God makes a difference through his people in the community.
Celebrating triumph over tragedy in Williamsburg.
Rather than watching something which really brings us the spirit down, by tuning into that, you can really lift them up.
The Catholic Church remaining constant and contemporary. We'll have these stories and more next. Welcome to Brooklyn Review. I'm Brian Vines. On this edition, we're taking a look inside faith in Brooklyn and how it inspires and sustains Brooklynites from all walks of life. It's by no means the last word on worship in the borough, but the beginning of a dialogue that we hope to continue throughout the year. With over 1 billion members, the Catholic Church is the world's largest Christian church. And here in Brooklyn, the church continues to be a community anchor, but the community itself has changed. Tati Amara got an inside look at how Brooklyn's Archdiocese maintains traditions while stepping into the 21st century.
I should say good afternoon, right?
Yeah.
Did you have your lunch?
Yeah.
Did you save me some?
No.
What am I going to eat? Oh, there's one extra.
Mary Queen of Heaven School in Old Mill Basin is full. It has over 300 students and is going strong.
Can I have one? No. We don't share?
This may come as a surprise considering there are several schools in the Brooklyn Queens Diocese that may possibly be closed or consolidated.
In some neighborhoods, it is a decline. But in this neighborhood, it's a shift. I mean, our school is full. It's not like it was years ago when we had 2 of every class. Now we have 1 of every class, but we're just about at capacity.
Oh, 2 rows of 10. All right, if we put 10 and 10 together, we have what? 20. Very good, boys and girls.
You know, the parish on Sunday, we get about 1,200 people here. It's a very active and alive parish.
Monsignor Jamie Gigantiello has been pastor at Mary Queen of Heaven for 12 years and explains why this parish has survived.
So the demographics have changed. In the last 15 years or so, many Caribbean people have moved into this neighborhood, predominantly Haitian.
And those new people to the neighborhood have kept the pews and the school full, whereas in other areas, there's simply fewer people.
I guess there are many reasons why there are so many few children in school, and even people in our parishes as well. You know, I know growing up, I mean, I came from with 3 children in our family, and we were a small family then. The families then had 5, 6, 7 children. Today, people have, I think it's 1.2.
Smaller families led to fewer people joining the ministry and bringing about higher operating costs.
And we don't have the sisters, the nuns, teaching in the school anymore. So you have lay people, and you have to give them, you know, salaries that are really what they need to survive themselves.
Some say the current financial challenges started back in 1957 when there was a big change in the diocese.
When Long Island started to develop, it was becoming too big, larger than the Archdiocese. So they split it. The North Shore of Long Island and the South Shore of Long Island, certain parts are considered one of the richest communities in our country.
And the Brooklyn Queens Diocese lost the support of very affluent parishioners.
We were left, in a sense, with the inner city parishes, you know, poorer people, that really struggle, working class people.
But Monsignor Jamie insists that we can't overlook the fact that today's world is very different from yesteryear.
In the 50s and 60s, you know, everyone was at church on Sunday because the stores were closed.
Right.
There was no sports programs.
Right.
You know, people weren't working. So people went to church. And this is not just in the Catholic Church, this is in all faiths. All faiths are experiencing this decline.
The Catholic Church is combating this ubiquitous decline and keeping people engaged through its TV station called The Net. With shows like Too Blessed to Be Stressed, based on the longtime radio show that focuses on everyday challenges.
And we're back. A new episode of Too Blessed to Be Stressed. My name is David, and her name is
Jahira, and I'm here.
My hope is that when I reach somebody in their season of suffering, I can say, guess what? This is going to pass. And when it passes, you're going to be a better person. You're going to be a wiser person. Today's show is called God of Second Chances. And this is why I think it's so important that we reach people now with the message and reach them at a level where they understand, very relevant, not so much in theological terms, but more so in these human terms. So you found in the gang what you didn't find in your house.
Exactly. You could say
that you know, somebody got my back.
Right.
Somebody cares about me. Somebody's looking out for me.
Right.
Along with a variety of programming, including a daily news show, the net aims to give people an option.
The good news has an opportunity to lift us up and really inspire us to be better than we can be. Rather than watching something which really brings us to spirit down, by tuning into net, you can really lift them up.
Despite the challenging economy and changing times, the Catholic Church is reaching out to people exactly where they are. For Brooklyn Review, I'm Tati Amara.
As the Catholic Church adapts to shifting community demographics, other churches are springing up to serve others who may feel completely abandoned by organized religion. At one Williamsburg church, the service is in a bar, the minister tattooed, and the worshipers looking for their own personal revolution.
When you mention religion in Williamsburg, it's usually the Satmar Hasidim who come to mind. With their distinctive dress and facial hair, some 45,000 Hasidim call Williamsburg home. But there is another religious group in Williamsburg, and although their numbers are not as large, they are just as distinctive in their style of dress and worship. This is Revolution NYC, a self-described church for people who have given up on church. People like Daphne.
It's hard to find places to just be yourself and worship that, or any place really that isn't a bar or a club or something like that, you know, that's specific to hanging out and being transgendered, you know.
Revolution is not a transgender church, or a gay one, or even a straight one for that matter. Here, the message seems to be about loving God by loving each other.
Did you hear that? Jesus phrases the prayer so that God's forgiveness is linked to our own willingness to forgive others in order to make mutual love a Christian duty.
Jay Baker is the pastor at Revolution NYC and believes it's his Christian duty to usher in a new era of understanding.
People also have used the Bible for segregation and racism and sexism and all these different things, and so this is hopefully taking another stand in the right direction and helping say, hey, love your neighbor as yourself, the golden rule, treat others how you'd want to be treated.
It's a message that seems to be catching on.
I first heard about Revolution about almost 7 years ago when they were back in Atlanta. And I would follow up on the sermons and the messages on podcasts.
For Jay, a virtual congregation is nothing strange. Some might even say it's the family business.
They were television evangelists, and at that time, Christian television was huge. I think it's definitely lost a lot of its influence and followers. I also think the Christian right was very strong at that time, and obviously I feel like their influence is fading.
Since 2006, Jim and Tammy Faye's son has been ministering from a Williamsburg bar, not a TV studio.
That's just not what we're looking for. We're really happy with Pete's Candy Store. We really love Brooklyn. I mean, I just have always felt like, meeting people where they're at is the best part, best thing to do. I'm not saying that God doesn't use television or big stages or things like that, but for us, that's just not where we're at.
Jay's opposition to sexism and homophobia in the church have attracted followers as well as criticism.
I'm going to speak up as long as there's injustice. And I don't care if, it's cost me money, it's cost me friendships, I had to let my whole staff go at one time because we couldn't do it anymore because people backed out. But the fact is I think it's more important to follow your convictions than it is to follow the dollar, and I don't want to compromise.
With an uncompromising message of grace, the Church for People Who've Given Up on Church is looking toward the future.
If we're going to keep the church relevant, we just have to follow Christ. Showing the love of Christ, showing the grace of Christ, loving people when they don't love you back, being true to what the gospel actually says is a very revolutionary thing.
For Brooklyn Review, I'm Brian Vines.
From soaring chapels to storefront venues, if you're in search of salvation, there's no shortage of options here in Brooklyn. But many of our historic churches are facing challenges that threaten to close the doors of sanctuaries, but not the hearts of worshipers. Fred Brown has the tale of two churches.
Since September 2011, the doors of the old First Reformed Church in Park Slope have been closed to the public, and for good reason. According to Senior Pastor Daniel Meter, this 120-year-old sanctuary is overdue for an internal makeover.
We think it's 62 feet at the very peak, at the groin vault. Through the holes, which have now been, you can see where the plasters come down. This September, on the eve of Rosh Hashanah, while they were gathering for worship, plaster started from our ceiling, was coming down on them. We had to scatter right in the middle, right in the middle. We had to ask the congregation to leave the center seats. Everything stopped for half an hour. Nobody was injured, thank God. It was just small pieces. And then the next morning we had the service, and then we closed the sanctuary because we didn't know what else was going to come down. This is a 4-volume engineering report, existing conditions report from 15 years ago. This has in it detailed analysis of the wood, the plaster, detailed photos of the basement.
The old First Reformed Church is one of several historic landmarks in Brooklyn facing structural changes.
This church is designed on what's called the central plan. Instead of being a long church like St. Patrick's or a cathedral, it's designed to rise up into the middle.
After spending $24,000 on assessment alone, Pastor Meter says he has faith that the additional $800,000 needed to fix things like this will definitely come.
We now are just beginning to plan on how we expect to do this impossible. Where do we go for resources? But I have to tell you that it happened again today. I was walking up Union Street. A secular person whom I know, who has participated in community meetings here, has said, "Pastor, what can I do to help? I know architects, I know fundraisers. He came up to me, so we know we don't know how we're going to do this, but we know we're going to do it because of the support that's been in the community."
Meanwhile, over in Bed-Stuy, Brown Memorial Baptist Church is also facing structural challenges that temporarily shut the doors of their main sanctuary. But after launching phase 1 of a successful capital campaign, the good news is that the congregation plans to move back into the main building for regular services by this spring.
It's the people that run the business, that run the government. It's the people who are responsible for the ministry. And so if the people are responsible for the ministry, then they should also be responsible to help with the finances.
I am the person that handles the pledges, pew pledges and restoration pledges. When we started out with the capital campaign, we started out with a goal of $3.5 million for 5 years to raise that amount of money.
And even as Brown came here at the very incubator stage, and people looked at it and as the Borough of Churches and said, this won't last. 100 years later, we're still here. And even on a Wednesday, we're vibrant and we're serving the community. So certainly, this institution of faith is one that is paramount to our community.
Saving these historic churches is a community effort that will require a commitment and a few extra dollars in the collection plate. For Brooklyn Review, you've been around town with Fred Brown.
Each year, tens of thousands of Satmar Hasidim gather in Williamsburg to commemorate the escape of the Satmar Grand Rebbe, Rabbi Joel Teitelbaum, from Nazi Germany in 1944. More than a celebration, the evening is the main fundraising event for the Satmar school system in Brooklyn, where over 13,000 children are enrolled. There were speeches, music, and dancing, and our cameras were there.
Tonight you have here about 10,000 people. We're celebrating 56 years of the Rebbe's, the old Grand Rebbe, Rabbi Joel Teitelbaum. He escaped the Nazis. At that time, they survived only a few single Jews. Basically what he did was he replanted Judaism after World War II. He started a school system which then started with about 4 kids with a wagon. It's now up to about 25,000 kids worldwide. The rabbi basically helped survive all the Jews and helped survive and rebuild Judaism in general. To us, it's a very exciting event. It's like similar to a wedding. It's very exciting, very happy. We're celebrating with the Rebbe, we're celebrating with the community leaders. We have had a lot of elected officials that came to celebrate with us. The governor sent somebody here, and it's a very happy moment for us.
Dear friends, it's a pleasure to send greetings to everyone gathered for the 67th annual celebration of 21st Kislev, recognizing the great value and importance of a deeper understanding of the Jewish historical experience. This assembly memorializes the miraculous rescue of the founding Satmar Rebbe, great Grand Rabbi Joel Teitelbaum, from the Bergen-Belsen concentration camp in 1944. This date in history, a day of Thanksgiving, stands as an appropriate testament to an enduring commitment to addressing the harm and injustice of all aspects of hostility, intolerance, cruelty, bigotry, and hatred. On this special night, you pay tribute to great Grand Rabbi Joel Teitelbaum of blessed memory for his wisdom, guidance, and inspiration. The compassionate vision of all who come together this evening offered us the hope and the promise that our children and grandchildren will live in a more peaceful and understanding world. With warmest regards and best wishes for an enjoyable evening. Sincerely, Andrew M. Cuomo, Governor.
We feel that after World War II, when Judaism was wiped out, we really needed very strong encouragement and motivation to restart the community, to rebuild. And the Rebbe was the perfect figure for that, and he gave us courage and mood and motivated us to go on with life and to rebuild again. And we definitely rebuild again, and here we are celebrating tonight again. You see 10,000 people here dancing and hopping for happiness that we survived and we were rebuilding and we're rejoicing. It's a very exciting moment for us.
A movement is afoot in some churches. Praise dancing is a form of worship that connects the Word and Spirit of God through the body. And while controversial in some Christian communities, others are jumping for joy.
Now we're going down. Bow down a way. Come up. go. 5. Raise your right knee, right hand.
My name is Clivia Sears, and I'm the organizer and leader and choreographer of Dance with the Father Dance Camp. We started in 2007, and we're still ongoing.
Left. Smile a little bit.
Praise dance is a form of praise to God, expressing yourself in a form of dance, in the beauty of dance. Some people preach, some people sing, and some people dance. I actually tell some of them, if you can't sing, it's okay, just dance. You don't have to be vocal. We minister every 3 months, and then every April we have a big show where we invite churches in our tri-state area. We come together.
2, 3.
I believe that people accept the group as something positive in the community.
You guys make a line in the back.
I know there are people that feel, I would say the old school Christians, feel that dancing shouldn't be a part of the church or part of worship. It shouldn't be a part of the church, but I feel, like I said in the beginning, that dance is a part of worship, and that's why we do it.
My soul loves Jesus. Words don't convey what my heart wants to say. Oh, my soul loves Jesus.
The best part about it is like the movements, like the hand movements and the body movements.
It's a good experience for me because I like to dance in school and at home.
The best thing about it is the togetherness that I see with the students that go here. In addition to dancing, they do have events where they get a chance to get to know each other, fellowship, and also express themselves with dance.
With the zeal I have, I hope that it would be transferred into the students. I want them to know that this is something you can do for God.
Ibrahim Abdul Matin is a man on a mission, and he's been called a voice for transforming our pollution-based way of life to one that prioritizes our planet and its people. His book, Green Deen, What Islam Teaches About Protecting the Planet, offers Islamic teachings to inspire us all to be better stewards of the planet. He talked with our producer, Charlie Hoxie, about the book and what it means to be Muslim in Brooklyn.
ولا عابدون ما عبدتم ولا أنتم عابدون ما أعبد لكم دينكم ولي دين.
My name is Ibrahim Abdul Matin, and I'm the author of Green Deen, What Islam Teaches About Protecting the Planet. Right now I'm in Fort Greene. I live in Fort Greene. One of the beauties of living in New York, and in particular living in Brooklyn, is that you can literally go any place, and like I just rode my bike over the Brooklyn Bridge, and it was about time to pray one of the prayers, and I just stopped and I prayed on the bridge. And there's nobody that stopped me, that said anything weird. It was just kind of like this, like, oh, that guy needs to pray. And it was just like, okay, that needs to happen. I've seen people break out and pray in the middle of the street, and cab drivers pull over and pray on the sidewalk. Like, that's one of the beauties of living in a place where, you know, there are a lot of Muslims in Brooklyn, and so there's an understanding that sometimes you need to just take care of your business. There's a little over 300 mosques in New York City in total, and the majority of those mosques are in Queens and in Brooklyn. And most of those mosques are small community mosques where people walk to the mosque in the morning for morning prayer before the sun comes up, and they walk home, which is that's the traditional way that a mosque should be centered around communities. Traditional way that churches were centered in the center of villages in Europe. That's sort of the way that you're supposed to interact as a human being with your faith in a communal setting. And I think